بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I welcome you to another episode of our series Safara Al Keram, where we strive to be in the company of the holy angels by perfecting our recitation of the Quran, by learning the science of Tajweed. As usual, we'd like to start off our show with an interesting fact about the Quran. And in our last episode, we had discussed that the Quran has actually been revealed in different ahruf, and these ahruf have been preserved in various qira'at or various ways of reciting the Quran. And we mentioned that there are 10 such ways in which the Quran is recited. Now we said that for the most part these are only memorized by advanced students of the Quran, by advanced students of Tajweed, who go to specialized institutions. And in these institutions they are taught poems which have been written which compile all of these 10 qira'at. Of the most famous of these poems is the Shatibiyya by the famous scholar Qasim ibn Ahmad al-Shatibi. He was from the Muslim Spain. He died in the year 548 Hijri. This poem compiles 7 of the most famous qira'at. There's another poem, At-Tayyiba, by Muhammad ibn al-Jazari, who died in the 9th century, and in this poem he compiled all of the 10 qira'at. Just to give an example of what really a qira'at is, or what are some of the differences. For example, in Surah Ma'idah verse 6, Allah Azza wa Jal says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم, with a fatha on the lam, أرجلكم. This is found in the qira'ah of Hafs and some other qira'at that we recite. In other qira'at, the lam has a kasra, and we say أرجلكم. Now, without going into too much detail, basically the difference in meaning would be that in one qira'ah, Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that when we do wudu, we have to wash our faces and hands and wipe the head and then wash the feet, which is how we do wudu all the time. We wipe the head. We don't wash it with water. We just put our hands over it and then we wash the feet. The other qira'ah, however, tells us to wipe the feet and not to wash them. Is this a contradiction? No. Rather, this shows you the beauty of the Quran. It further illustrates the miraculous nature, the power of the Quran. Because we all know that when we, for example, wear socks, or wear some type of covering, and we have wudu, we don't have to wash the feet. Rather, we're allowed to wipe over the feet. And this is so beautiful when you study the different qira'at. You study the different ways of reciting the Quran, all of which go back to the Prophet ﷺ. You find that each one complements the other. Each one adds a meaning that the other has not added. And this is the beauty of the qira'at, which is appreciated by every single student of the Quran who studies these qira'at. So don't think that there's a lot of contradiction or there are a lot of differences. No. Each qira'ah adds another meaning, adds another beautiful aspect, which one of them did not do. Returning to our lesson, we were discussing the exceptions in the qira'ah of Hafs, which is the qira'ah that we recite. What are the exceptional circumstances, the exceptional rules that go against the general rules that we studied? And this is the part 2 of the exceptions. The first that we're going to discuss today is something called an imala. Okay? An imala means to produce a sound which is between the alif and the ya. So it's between the alif and the ya. It's not an alif, it's not a ya, it's rather in between. Okay? And there's only one word in the entire Quran where we do an imala, and that is in Surah Hud verse 41. Let us open up Surah Hud verse 41, and let us see how to pronounce this imala. Surah Hud is surah number 11, verse 41. Notice if you look at it, if you turn to verse 41 of Surah 11, Surah Hud, وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ. Look over here, there's always a special sign. In most Qurans it is like a diamond underneath the majraha, right? If you were to not know what an imala is, you would say majraha, but that's a mistake. You have to pronounce it with an imala. An imala is pronounced as this, majreha, majreha. So we will pronounce the verse like this. وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مَجْرِيهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا مَجْرِيهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا مَجْرِيهَا مَجْرِيهَا. It's not a majri, majra, no, it's in between. Majri. This is called an imala. And it only occurs once in the entire Quran. Yet another exception is known as the tasheel of the hamza, which means that you pronounce a hamza in between an alif and a hamza, in between it. Okay, so it's close to a ha sound, if you like. It only occurs in one word again, Surah Fussilat, verse 44. Let us turn to this exception. Surah Fussilat, verse 44. Surah Fussilat is surah number 41 in the Quran. Surah number 41, verse 44. Okay, here we find Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا لَقَالُوا لَوْلَا فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ. Now notice, أَعْجَمِي, you notice that the second hamza typically would have a dot on it. To show you, you don't pronounce it as a hamza. You don't say أَعْجَمِي. Rather, you pronounce it as follows. أَعْجَمِي. أَعْجَمِي. You don't pronounce it a full hamza, and you don't pronounce it as an alif, full alif. It is in between. وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا لَقَالُوا لَوْلَا فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ أَعْجَمِيٌّ وَعَرَبِيٌّ. So we have أَعْجَمِي. It is not a pure hamza, and it is not a pure alif. It is in between. This is known as tasheel. أَعْجَمِيٌّ وَعَرَبِيٌّ. So this is another exceptional rule which must be memorized, and there is no other place like it in the entire Quran. There's one last exception, and this is that in some cases in the Quran you're allowed to pronounce a sin and a sad, or a sad, depending on whatever you want to do. And there are a number of places where you can do this. There are two places, Surah Baqarah and Surah A'raf, these two verses, where the Quran is actually written with a sad, but it is preferred to use a sin instead. Okay, let us look up Surah Baqarah, verse 245. Surah Baqarah, verse 245. The ending of the verse. Wallahu yaqubidu. Now notice, in the Quran there is a sad. Above that sad is a small sin. What is the purpose of this sin? It is to tell you that it is preferred to pronounce it with a sin. So you don't say Wallahu yaqubidu wa yabsutu. You don't say so. Rather you say Wallahu